This episode of Grilled is sponsored by Rationale, your leading provider in multifunctional hot food preparation equipment. Register now for a free Rationale live demo at www.rationale-online.com.
The following podcast may contain swearing, some sexual references, and a huge amount of sexual tension. If you're easily offended by these, please don't listen.
Welcome to Grilled.
I want to eat Sunday roast whenever I want to eat Sunday roast, not when you want me to eat it.
I'm cooking burgers.
Oh, burgers! I hope they're not McDonald's.
And you would bend down to pick it up and then he'd fart in your face. He thought that was very, very funny.
Don't mind a bit of gangster rap if I'm driving around Torquay, giving it to some,
The guy said to me, the waiter, do you want to come and see the kitchen? I said, no, not really, mate. I've seen one kitchen, I've seen them all.
Like a piece of your culinary penis in or around their mouth.
Welcome to Grilled by the Staff Canteen. I'm Cara, editor of the Staff Canteen. And hello again to Michael O'Hare, who is co-hosting these episodes. How are we this week, Michael?
I'm wonderful this week, to be honest. I had a bit of a shady start. Nothing bad happened, but you're just feeling a little bit and a bit done with it. But it was Mother's Day yesterday. I had plenty of family time, and I feel a bit kind of energized, to be honest. That may be a combination of the 4 coffees I've had. I feel buzzed. I feel like this is a good week. I've got a little plan in place of what's happening at work, and sometimes it's all over the shop, but now I've got a bit of order in my life for a few days.
Lovely. Do you know I have a maximum of 3 coffees, anything after that, and I am a write-off. So 3 coffees maximum a day.
I have this unique ability to drink coffee before bed. But yeah.
Anyway, so our guest today is Marty Lau from the Araki. Obviously, Marty, we will ask you some more questions, but Michael, why did you choose Marty to join us?
So I'm so excited that Marty's joining us. For a start, I just want to say, without kissing too much ass, it's an absolute honor to have you on, Marty. The 3 of the best meals I've ever had in my life, and they're all in your restaurant. And I mean,
thank you so much.
The first time I came to the Araki, it just utterly blew me away. And I guess I felt a little bit kind of ignorant because I love sushi so much and I love Japanese food so much, but I've never even been to Asia. And my love for sushi is on a kind of Sports Direct level. If I'm totally honest, it's a really kind of basic. It was, I like going to sushi restaurants and things like that, but it wasn't elaborate, and I always wanted to. And then when I went to the Araki, the idea that just rice, vinegar, and fish can be that perfect, 3 very kind of basic ingredients, if you like, albeit high end, it just blew my mind. And I thought the whole experience, I've never ever felt so on holiday in my life. The second you walked in, I was like, right, I am somewhere else, something else is happening. And the ceremony of it and everything was just unbelievable. Anyway, I'm waffling on a little bit. I adore the Araki. I think it's a wonderful restaurant. I think Marty's a great chef, and as we've become friends and I've been back time and time again, that experience has just been better, because now it's your mate's got this amazing Japanese restaurant, as opposed to it being a little bit standoffish and not knowing what to do. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining us. It's a genuine honor.
Absolute pleasure, mate. I mean, it was a great honor when I first saw you, when I was with the big boss and the master was there. And it's always great to see how humble people are when they come into the Araki, because it is kind of transporting you to Japan itself. So to see you come back time and time again, especially after, with certain things happening, it was just great, really. It was encouraging. And it's something I'm really grateful for, because there's a lot of chefs who have been able to show their support over the last year specifically, and the year before that as well, when I took over in March. It humbles me as well, because it's there's so much more to achieve, and stepping into the shoes of someone like my master Araki, it's always going to be daunting when people come in and they've been before and they're wondering what is this kid going to give, what is his apprentice about. And it's nice to know that because I'm English, I'm able to give that kind of edge to it, because people come in here and it can be quite standoffish, as you say, when it was really, really quiet. But that people enjoy that. Some people really enjoy that really library kind of context, where they're there for this grand concerto of theatre and orchestra and grand symphony.
I loved it, and I wasn't even I wasn't put off by it in any way. I think it's just one of those things, because without sounding like too much of a knob, it's a culture that I don't really understand. And it's a system that we kind of don't have. So, like, Cara, have you eaten at the Araki?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Like, if you don't mind me elaborating a little bit on this.
Oh, no, go for it.
So, like, everything is so made just for you. It's not a case of like you're watching someone cooking. That piece of sushi is exactly for you. And it's like looking at you, like kind of almost gauging how much rice that you. Am I right with this, Marty?
No, absolutely right. Because the trouble with a lot of places when we go to eat is like it's a beautiful omakase usually anyway when you go to a top end place, but to gauge what the customer can and cannot eat is one of the greatest advantages of working in front of them directly, because you're looking at certain tells. It's like playing a poker game almost, and you're like, okay, this person's reaching their limit, and you have to see the end of the course. Otherwise, you save the grand finale for nothing, don't you?
As the meal's presented to you, like there's a bow, and then you bow back. And then those guys bow back and you think, shit, I bow again. Like, what? So you find yourself getting whiplash. You're like, shit, I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to upset anyone, but I also want to scrun this.
Yeah. It's up to you how absorbed you want to get absorbed into the experience itself. And if you want to bow back, if you want to bow, when people are just in tune with that energy, that's why, that meal is so special there, because it's such an intimate space and such close proximity, which you don't normally get with a chef. Even if open kitchens, usually the chefs, their backs are turned to you, they're engaged doing their own thing. It's quite difficult to talk with them. But at the Araki, you're kind of encouraged to kind of ask those questions. If you're feeling a bit lost, that's where the accessibility of where I feel like I can provide. Because in Japan, given the language barrier normally that's there, they're usually quite well catered for the Japanese. But when a foreigner comes, it's quite difficult for them to engage and really get passionate about their produce, about their style, about their history. But at the Araki, now that I've been able to get the reins of it with my team, it's like I can actually provide that experience, teach them about the history, teach them about why I want to use this wonderful ingredient that I've tried to source locally. And that's what the Araki ethos is about. So being able to, interact with a guest, that's when you really take levels high. You can get to that really beautiful high. So as much as people like to come from the ceremonial aspect of it, I do encourage people to try and talk, build a rapport with the chef, because once you're feeling comfortable, the meal's going to be that much more enjoyable. Obviously, it's still going to be ceremonial, it's still going to be very special, but I like to have that kind of, pretext and conversation with the customer.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And it's funny, like, don't get me wrong, I mean, no disrespect, but Mr. Araki was phenomenal. But then what I really enjoy about it now is the food for me is just as good, but also I've got this kind of personability, from the team that you're guided, aren't you? It's a real I think it's a difficult balance, and you've balanced it perfectly. Is it like, how do you tell someone what to do without being condescended?
Yeah, it's really fine line.
Yeah, it's really fine line. Especially when it comes to like picking up a piece of fish. Literally showing people how to pick up a piece of fish, and some people I think could kind of take it the wrong way, but
they do. Some people really take it the wrong way, but we do our best to try and educate, because that's the one thing that my master was really, really happy about coming to the UK from, because again, it was quite unprecedented to have something like this in London back when we opened. So being able to re-educate people and tell people, it's not just chopsticks and dip it in soy sauce, this idea of using the fingers and the sensuality of it, and also appreciating the craft, because imagine when you're making the rice, as you know, it's warm, it makes it that much more difficult to form the nigiri shape. It goes all over the place, mate, when it's really warm. So I get it just enough so that it's going to hold its shape, but if you grab it ever so slightly harder, it's going to disintegrate in your fingers.
Well, I remember the first time I ate. So we sat on the far. It was 9 seats, I believe, at the time. We were sat on the far left.
Yeah.
On the far right, there was a lady there, and I can't remember the name of your chef. I'm so sorry. The guy with the kind of short hair.
Is it the other Asian dude, or is it the
potentially Polish?
Yeah, my boy Voy. Yes.
Yeah, top guy. So he's talking people through kind of how to pick it up with your fingers, and also when to use chopsticks. So you use
absolutely.
so that if the tuna's too oily, it doesn't linger for the next course and things like that.
Yes, yeah.
And there was this kind of brash American woman at the very end, and she just went straight in like with these massive claws. It was funny because he was so like mortally offended. It was like he was stopping a car crash. He was like, please, no. My master's trained for many years to make that single piece of nigiri absolutely perfect. Like, and he didn't say this, but it was like, please don't crush it in those massive hands.
It's really, really, you have to tread very carefully with this kind of thing because you don't want to come off as condescending, as you say. Yeah, but some people get really like, offended, not even offended, they're embarrassed by it because they're like, oh, I've messed up. So the rest of the meal can be make or break after that point, especially with people who've visited Japan a lot. They're like, no, I've been to this sushi restaurant and this is not how they do it. This isn't how you do it. I don't need to be taught. It's especially then you have to be very, very, very careful with your wording, just to say, look, this is the Araki. This is the way my master's been taught by his master, and this is the way we've been handed down our art. So some people can appreciate that, but a lot of them, they do stick with their ways, and we don't mind them using chopsticks just as long as they don't destroy the entire thing, which sometimes they do, and it's like, well, we did tell you, but hey, what can I do? I'm not going to like put a gun to your head and say you pick this sushi up the way I want you to pick it up. It's just advice at the end of the day, and it's just
that would be a hell of an experience if that was how it worked, wouldn't it?
Rather than a gun, you've got a long enough knife, so the knife to the throat.
I think the thing with the Araki, and I think it's probably worth saying because a lot of chefs will be listening to this podcast. There's a difference between just because something's expensive, as in it costs a lot of money, doesn't mean it doesn't have a huge value for money. And if anyone looks at the price tag at the Araki, which I believe is circa 300, are we on something like that?
Yeah, 310, yeah.
310 for the experience with the omakase. The value for money within that is absolutely ludicrous. And this is the way I would tell that, is that one, you see the product when you're there, you see and you think, oh my God, your food bills must be through the roof. And it's generous with it as well. But also the alternative to not paying that price tag as a chef is literally to travel to Japan. That's the only way, potentially New York, but that's the only way that you can eat that level of sushi. So £310 for dinner compared to like, I don't know how long the flight is to Japan, but let's just say a 6-year flight to Japan, plus accommodation. You have to build this whole holiday around it. And I don't think that we have that with too many cuisines in the UK, where it's actually, this is 100% authenticity, in that once that door's closed behind you, you could be not just anywhere in the world, but specifically the Araki. And I took a friend of mine was having a bit of a hard time. Oh, it was Gareth Ward.
Oh, yes.
He'd had a bit of a hard time. So I took him with John, my head chef. We went to the Araki for his first time. And to see someone who loves food as much as Gareth loves food, like go through the emotions of enjoying that as much as I did the first time, as in the newness of it, it was amazing. And he was just blown away. And I know the first thing he did when he got back is like made himself a hand roll when he got that tuna's getting in there.
The beautiful thing about the what I do is literally that is like the apex. This is like the reason why I do my job. I mean, just get that kind of reaction where it changes someone, even if it's just for that one moment where you watch their eyes literally sit at the back, they roll back to the back of their head, and their necks are all tilted up, and they're just like, it's like they found salvation. And that is literally it. But a lot of people, like you said, with that price point, they do misunderstand it as, greed or this, they do realize that the amount of training to be able to do what you do, even if you're a professionally trained chef, to be able to work in front of people is quite the challenge. Because I remember the first time, and I'll never forget this, when my master was like, put me up and literally, it's like, yeah, you go do it right now. I'm like, what, with you here? And he's like, yeah, you gotta cover me. I need you to do it right now. I'm like, there I was, like 28 years old. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is gonna be my make or break. He's gonna see me do this, and if he's gonna see that I can't do this, he's never gonna be able to hand me the restaurant. So there I was shaking like crazy. And there, my master was just kind of like giggling on the side, and he was like, "Yeah, you can do this, Marty. I've seen you do this. You can do this." But what people don't understand is that immense pressure when 10 eyes are on you, especially when the master is there, going, "What the hell is this kid doing?" And you're just like, "Oh God, where have all the years of training gone?" It just jumps out the window. You're there and there. You're naked in front of people almost. It's literally that daunting.
You're making me anxious just listening to you describe it, Marty.
It is a huge amount of pressure and anxiety. It's like getting onto the stage and performing your first West End, theatre. It is exactly that. I mean, wonderful as it is to work in the back kitchen where you don't see the customer's, face. You can just do your thing. But when you got to do your thing in front of people staring with daggers because they're paying £310 for you, that's where the real pressure gets. Am I worth it? Am I that good? All of these questions are endlessly tormenting you. So you have to literally be able to have such a belief and will, and you literally have to meditate before work to kind of just say, yeah, this amount of training, this amount of pain and suffering to get the blood out of the rock to get to where I am today. And it is absolutely humbling the moment you step into the shoes of the master you've watched him for 4 years do this day in, day out, and you kind of think, this is normal, this is natural, and then it's your turn. Finally, it's you, and you're just like, oh my God, this is really tough. You can feel the exhaustion that you feel from just standing there doing the motion. You're just standing there, but afterwards you feel like you've done a 10K. It is absolutely bewildering. And what people don't get is that kind of, to be able to deliver that day in, day out, and to people like Michael himself, like all these other wonderful chefs that have come and visited me, like Tom Kerridge, Jason Atherton, James Knappett, and they're just there supporting you and just saying, you've got this. And I've been able to add a new dimension to it by giving that free flow conversation.
There's something about the caliber of the product and the end result at the Araki, the simple mouthful, that I'm not in any way advocating this lifestyle, but it's almost like drugs. It's like it is. I don't know what it is. It's like you've got real gear. Like it's just unbelievable. Like, so the white truffle comes out, and I genuinely did not know it was white truffle. I was like, what's he going to do with that raw celeriac? It's a I was like, what? And then it's getting grated all over my scrambled eggs, and I was like, oh my God. And you eat it, and it's like there's something nasal about it that I don't know. It's beauty on a level that, because you haven't had it, and I think because food is like my passion in my life, is that when it hits you that way, you're like, holy shit, that is class A drugs. If you have albino caviar and stuff like that, you think, guys are just throwing this gear in my face at like unbelievable level, and
it makes your life easier when you're working with that kind of level of produce, because you know that what you're delivering is like, hey, I paid a hell of a lot of this, and I know this is really good stuff. So that helps with the anxiety a little bit. But this is what my master's about. He was always like, if the customer's willing to pay, then you've got to be willing to always bid for the best. Every day he would be in tuna, and then he'd be like, the price has gone up this much, and he'd be like, yeah, well, that's the way of the game. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low, but you've got to maintain that consistency. So in the winter months, the tuna's fattier, so you're going to be able to get it much easier. But in the summertime, it's going to be so much more competition because of the lack of, really good quality fat in the fish. And, all of the price fluctuations, he's always taken and accounted for. And he's believed in himself. He believed in himself so much that that's really what we've inherited. If I have done my best to source the best produce that I can possibly, and I'm proud to show that. And there is no losing at the end of the day. For me, it's like, I'm going to win. There's only victory. There's only victory at the end of this battle. That is serving customers, especially top end chefs like yourself. So you just got to believe. You just got to believe. Otherwise, it all crumbles to nothing. It's a tough gig.
So when how are you at the moment, Marty? Obviously, it's been a ridiculous 12 months, hasn't it? I think we're pretty much on our anniversary of lockdowns, are we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone, how are you? Have you got happiness in your life? I know you've got
Yeah, but literally, it's been able to spend the family time, isn't it? I mean, I look at the Ledbury and I look at Brett, and I'm just like, I can totally get why. You know, when he realizes that 6 days a week, well, for me anyway, it's 6 days a week. I'm out at in the morning, and then I come home and it's 1 a.m. and that's 6 days a week. My wife, I don't see her because I don't go back for lunch. And it's so it's been a real contrast, really. Being able to appreciate this time to really watch, because my son's only going to be this age once in this life, so it's been incredible to be able to witness that, and it's bonded us much closer. You know, like the way he comes running to me, and it's like before the only thing he would know is bye bye dada, and it's like crushing because you close that front door and it's like, is what I'm doing really what I want to be doing? It makes you question your life choice so much. And then my wife is just always there. God bless her soul. She's always been so supportive. Like, thank God I met her in the industry. I don't see any other woman being able to marry someone who works the hours I do and be able to say, yeah, you know, your boss calls you, you must go at the snap of a finger. That kind of dedication to master and apprenticeship. Not many women get that. I mean, I don't want to be sexist on your partner would get, shall I say?
Yeah.
So I'm blessed to have someone who really does understand that what I'm doing is worthwhile, is at the end of the day, what I'm going to achieve is hopefully something amazing. And my son will see that in the future. I really pray to God, because daddy wasn't there for a lot of time. So this time, you know, as bad as it is not being able to work, because, you know, I do get Etsy, you know, I sit on the couch and just kind of getting these panic attacks going, I should be making sushi right now. It should be. It's like, but no, his smile, his laughter, the way he comes and cuddles me, that's priceless, mate. It just calms everything down. Brings the sunlight right in through those rain clouds.
Oh man, that's so beautiful. A side note to that, I took my son to the Araki. Hetty's eating at the Araki, remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that Hetty's been and I haven't been. I'm so jealous.
Oh my god! So
he'd like the sushi. He'd eat great sushi anyway.
This happened like 2 days ago. So Saturday night we got takeout sushi, and he doesn't eat the fish. He just eats the rice. He just eats nigiri shapes. And we cook them for him at the restaurant. I'll cook them at home, and sometimes I'll just take the fish off and he'll eat it like that. But the rice came. I bought like just some sushi rice plain, like with not in nigiri shapes. And I was like, right, I'll go and make yours up, and we'll eat our sushi. Put him down, and he's like, Daddy, is this special for me? I was like, yes, son, it's special for you. And he put this nigiri in his mouth, and he just started crying. But like not happy crying.
I was like, wow,
my crying. My girlfriend's looking at him like, what's wrong? He's like, well, it doesn't taste special. I tried it. The rice was unseasoned, so I took it off him, went back into the room, mashed it all together, and put some like sushi seasoning in it. Brought it back out, and I was like, try that, is that better? And he's like, oh yeah. It wasn't special. It's like, as if at 4-year-old you're calling someone out on not seasoning the rice properly. That's amazing.
The big boss was always adamant. He's like, you must always accept children, no matter what. There's so many places in Japan. You bring a kid to the restaurant, they're like, nope, sorry, no chance.
Oh, really?
Because they believe that, you know, the ambience is something that you've got to keep perfectly. And you know, the kids can be disturbing to that. But what our ethos is at the Araki is, you know what you just said is the pinnacle of it. It's like, kids don't lie. Kids tell you exactly how it is. And I've got beautiful customers who've been coming since the beginning, and now they're bringing their kids along, like 3 or 4 years old, and they're really picking in with chicken nuggets only kind of eating. Like, I'm not eating anything else except for this and this and this, and they eat the sushi. And the parents are just like, what the hell? And they're just like, yeah, more. It's like candy to baby. And it's like, wow. And that's life-changing moments. But kids don't lie. If you mess up, they will straight up tell you. And that's the beauty of that. And it's one of the best gauges for us as a chef, I think. It's like, if you can make things tasty for kids as well as adults, then you've done your job.
Michael, that's 2 meals that you've told me that you've done at home that you've failed at. I'm quite worried about you through lockdown.
It wasn't my sushi. It was the Leeds takeaway. Yeah, it was just unseasoned rice. I don't know. It's not like proper sushi. It's like that Californian kind of like. It may as well be chips, you know. But I love it. On the subject of which, like, are you able to Are you able to eat shitty sushi, Marty? Do you like it? You know, like if you're stopping on a train or something like that, are you able to pick up like a yo sushi or a wasabi, or does the idea of it like make your penis fall?
No. I mean, at the end of the day, I was brought up here, so you know, being able to be part of the transition is wonderful in that. But you know, my roots are back to when I was like 15 or 13, and then you know, you go down to Embankment. It's one of the first wasabi shops, isn't it? So no, of course, I mean, I still hold those memories fondly. And the first place I worked at, which you know, gave me the roots and the groundwork to get to where I am. They're doing stuff like California and stuff, and I've made all of this stuff before in my life. So there's no way I'm going to look down on it. This is part of my heritage here in the UK. This is just westernized sushi. It can be great. It can be great. It's just the different flavor profiles, and it does apply to us here in the West. It's a bit more dense, a bit more creamier, you know, a bit more exciting. And you just got to look at it as a different thing, really. I look at it as a completely different thing. And I still enjoy it to this day. I still like the taste of artificial wasabi once in a while, you know, because it's just, yeah, that's the good old heat that I remember from my childhood. This is,
right? It's just powder with water. Is that right?
Yeah, oh my goodness. So yeah, Michael, if you're ever going to use this stuff, I hope you don't. I hope you always use the fresh stuff.
I've never made it. We have the UK wasabi.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I've got one of them shark skin graters. Oh my god, unbelievable.
Yeah, and the thing is, the more it gets worn down, the more elbow grease you're gonna have to put in. But the smoother the article, the more creamier, and like that's why when my master made me use a 6-year-old board the first day, I was sweating. But it's like, have we got a new one? I think we're done with this. And he's like, you think you're done, but no. This is now a vintage article. This is what you're going to use now, and this is the best, because now the wasabi won't have bits in it. It won't have these thick grains. It's going to be a smooth paste just because you're using a finer grip on the essentially worn down shark.
The more you keep that, the better it gets. Then.
Yeah, exactly. It's better. I mean, it's not better for us to do grating it, but it is better for us to use as a sushi chef. But what I was going to say is that if you ever do mix that powder, just make sure you do it outdoors or a big bowl with ice cold water. If you do it in a confined space with any lukewarm water, you'll gas everyone basically. That's strong. That artificial stuff is lethal. So you do need to be rather careful with that.
What about home foods? What kind of stuff are you eating at home during lockdown? What's
so it's always been blessed because now my wife is Polish and we both love food. So we do try to cook a bit of everything really. It varies from Japanese, Chinese, you know, Korean, Thai, and then you go to West, you've got Italian, you've got the Mexican here, Polish of course. Good old English roast yesterday, you know, Mother's Day, beautiful dairy bone-in ribeye or reverse sear. That was lovely as well. So yeah, no, I was brought up here, so I literally enjoy everything. That's the beautiful cosmopolitan London. You've been exposed to nearly everything. Indian food, my God, love it. Everything.
There is something wonderful about the UK with that, I think, in that because the food was so shit for so long. I'm not talking 20 years ago. I'm just talking like if you go back to 70s kind of Britain, with the exception of a few, the standard of food was so shit that you have to adopt a culture, but not just one culture, multiple cultures. So like,
absolutely.
I think I said it on a previous podcast, is that I feel like in the UK, if you walk down even at just like a high street level, you struggle to find a country with better chain restaurants.
I do think that we do the best. Yeah, we do the best. I think we do the best Indian. We do the best Chinese in Europe for sure. That I can verify. I think we do probably some of the best Japanese. I'd like to believe in Europe as well. I'd like to believe that. I'd like to be an advocate for that. And yeah, I think we do amazing because like whenever I go to anywhere else in Europe, it's always just really good for that food. Usually, I don't usually find like Chinese food to be very palatable in Europe, unfortunately. But UK have just, I mean, I think we do really, really good stuff in terms of just not just British, but like worldwide cuisine. I do honestly believe that strongly, wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I mean, weirdly, I think the hardest food, I mean, I'm speaking from a Leeds background, not London, but the hardest food to find, Cara, you're Yorkshire, around here is British, actually. Like you can, like you find and there is some, I'm not saying we're void of them. You know, there's great places like the Star Inn and stuff like that. And Tommy's place is pretty British, but just to be able to go to a pub and have a good Sunday lunch, I think they're very few and far between. It's a lot easier to get a nice Italian, to get a nice Chinese.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's something that's going to, well, it goes in cycles, isn't it? It just goes out of trend, and then it's going to bounce back in a big way once people start, missing it.
Yeah,
You've got to miss it long enough, isn't it?
I think we've talked about Sunday roast on every single one of our podcasts that we've recorded, Michael.
No, that's English, isn't it?
What about, if you don't mind me asking, Marty, I know it's an awkward subject, but obviously, I ate at the Araki when it was 3 Michelin stars. And then later, before the stars were lost, I believe, and then also when the stars were gone. And for me, it's completely consistent. The only thing that had changed is my relationship with you and the guys at the Araki, and that we were then able to say, like, hey, how are you, and stuff like that. But in terms of food, everything to me was identical. Just the experience had got better. And I was genuinely shocked, to the point where I thought, is it closing? Like, why would you lose that? I was absolutely shocked, and I was heartbroken for you. And I remember when the awards were happened and all 3 had gone, and I sent you a message, and I don't know if you remember your reply, but your reply is the most gracious thing like I've ever seen in my life. And it was just something like, what will be, we'll move on, and it's in their good judgment and stuff. And I thought, oh my God, you're such a better person than me. I'd be screaming from the rooftops. But how do you feel about that? How do you feel going forward? How's the team morale? How's everything going?
Of course, it's going to affect morale a lot, because some people who work in kitchens, they do aim for this, and it is a huge loss for the Accolades. It was something that my master prided himself on, and it's just like, I look at it in a half full kind of way, in the sense that if we do eventually earn anything back, it'll be my own. But at the end of the day, people like yourself who do come and judge for themselves, that's my saving grace, really. When you did come, you literally came a week after we lost them. I remember that week being really hard. But it just spurs me to do better, isn't it? Because that's all you can do, really. You either tap out and say, okay, that's it. I'm done. But for me, it was just like, oh, well, it's the beginning of my journey. Humble beginnings. This is going to be great. I'll make my own name. People get to know me for who I am. I mean, there are a lot of people who come to the Araki, and they leave these horrible ideas. Like, oh yeah, they lost their 3 stars, and there was really, really tough phone calls you would have to deal with. You're no longer 3 stars, so is the meal half price now? And it's like, wow. They talk about kick me when I'm down. It's like, it was incredible. Like, these people are ruthless, but tis the name of the game. You charge that price, and of course people are going to be asking questions. But no, I mean, I as long as there's customers that still want to come and give me a chance, every opportunity I try to take it and say, this is another person I'm going to convince I am worth this. I am here for this reason. I am going to, make this name proud, and I'm going to do myself proud as well, make my family proud. And it's just been beautiful, because the amount of support from chefs like yourselves, that they've just been like, I don't understand what's happened, and it's lovely to be able to have. I think this has given me much more camaraderie with all of the British chefs, and they've all been so wonderful, and it makes me happier to give me something to strive for now, because now I've got something to really, really work for.
I remember when you achieved the 3 stars, I spoke to you at the Michelin Awards, and you were pretty speechless. So I can't wait to see when you get these accolades back. I literally cannot wait to see you receive it again, because you just couldn't talk.
It was shocking. It was a real shock, shall I say? Because we've been, I think I went with my master twice before, and it was usually like, we'll be lucky to see a 2-star, that's a wrap, folks. We were getting ready to go, and then there Michael Ellis was, and he was like, this year there is something special. It's something that hasn't happened for 7 years, and it was like, oh, and I was like thinking, okay, so it's going to be one of the people who have been like 2-star for a long time, and it's like, yeah, great. It's going to be lovely to see. And then our name pops up, and you're just there going, wow. yeah, we all, my master and his wife burst into tears, and it's like, because for them, that is the ultimate definition of a legacy right there, because no one's been able to do that. They've gone to America, but they're still using Japanese ingredients. They're still importing every single week or 2 times a week. And it's like, here we are, a chef who's just literally lock, stock, dropped everything he's known, comes to a different country, completely different vibe, completely different, guests and ingredients and team, and he's been able to replicate that success. That is the ultimate definition of, like, it gives me something to really aspire to. I'm always going to be looking at my master's back, and it's just something it's always good to have that endless rainbow, that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that you're always chasing. And when we got up there, it was just wonderful to see what he's done, and it's like, wow, what a man, what a guy. This is my master. This is someone that I have to do better than him. Is what he kept saying to me. He always said, Marty, I've gone this far and handed you the torch. Now you've got to go this far and hand the torch on to the next gen. So it's huge amounts of pressure. Obviously, it doesn't help if you lose all the stars on the first year, but But I take it in stride. I mean, it's my first time being a head chef anywhere, so to be able to, I think it would have messed me up a bit more if I did start off with 3 stars. My master was on the phone straight away, and he's like, "You're right, mate." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry, I guess. This is not exactly how I expected it to happen." And he was like, "Well, Marty, this is one of the greatest gifts. You've been given a blank slate. Now, anything that you've earned, you ain't going to have to live in my shadow. This is all going to be you. That's the only way I can take it. I mean, what they've decided on, it could be a blessing or it could be a curse. We'll see."
It's such an admirable way to look at it from both of your perspectives, and I think it's the right outlook.
I think that was the only outlook the choice was, Mike. I guess I can translate time to change career paths.
If it drops from 3 to 2 Michelin stars, and you say, right, okay, well, what? Now you're just not quite as good. Like, the blank slate is true. Like, imagine if it had gone from 3 to 1. Then I think, not that there's anything wrong with having 1 star, like, but, if you go from 3 to 1, it's like, well, what's made it so much worse than it was? Whereas, like you said, it is that kind of blank slate. It's almost unjudged to a degree. But yeah, I mean, I am utterly convinced that that's coming back your way, and probably would have this year had we have not had a year where it's physically impossible to eat in restaurants because they're all closed. What about kind of reopening? What are we, 8 weeks away, something like that now?
Yeah. Well, we've always been adamant just to get going straight from the bang. Once that gun goes, we always open straight away. This time it happens to be on a Monday, so we're opening from the 18th again. So yeah, it's just back to the grind. And it's
any changes? Anything new happening?
Well, we're just thinking of new menu dishes, isn't it? That's all you do really during the lockdown. Find some new suppliers, get some new inspirations, and yeah, tackle it head on. That's always been the name of the game for us.
Marty, we've talked a lot about, obviously, the Araki, but what about you? Because I don't know an awful lot about your background. So talk us through like how you got to that point, and your career and how you got into cooking. Because there's, you're an amazing chef, but there's not an awful lot. You'll be thankful to know when you Google. There's not an awful lot that's out there about you already. So
definitely. Well, I was born here, went to university, did psychology. So it kind of goes hand in hand with what I do, actually.
Yeah.
Convincing someone to be happy from the other end of the room on a chair. It's convincing another person to be happy from the other side of the counter holding a really long knife. I find that a lot more convincing to be trying to make people happy and nourish them. So I graduated psychology, and it was like kind of a flip up. You continue studying, but then there was also a lovely gentleman, my first mentor, Ban-san. He lives very close to me, and he was trying to educate people. He was trying to do what my master's done, basically. And for the last 20, 25 years now, he's still going strong in Pet's Wood. And he really left a mark on me, because I would go to that place after for the last 7 years before even graduating uni to get a relationship with him. And I remember my first experiences of eating sushi in London as a really special kind of where you get to interact with the chef. It became such a relationship that I would go very often. And sometimes I would even go when they open and stay all the way until they would close about 10 p.m. So 5 hours just sitting there. It got to the point he would stop feeding me. He's like, yeah, you're not allowed to order anymore. He's like, why? He's like, you're wasting your money. And then his wife would do something incredible. She would make Japanese food from all over. Like we had my sobas, we had my udons, we had my donburis, we had all kinds of stuff. She would completely open my mind to something that was originally very close, because sadly to say, I'm from a Chinese background where, very old-fashioned thinking is like, yeah, raw fish is not something that we can eat. It's not something that's consumable. Especially back then, I could understand why, because the fish wasn't quite the level it is today here in the UK. And so I always had this wrong brainwashing from when I was really young. So when I was able to try sushi, because I was really, really into Japanese culture. I was watching so much stuff on TV, and then the idea of sushi was something that I was like, I really want to try this. I want to what is otoro? Back 15 years ago, otoro isn't something that anyone would have known, but now it's blown up to the point where everyone's like, yeah, I love fatty tuna. I love fatty tuna. So trying to get that 15, 16 years ago, yeah, it wasn't happening. There wasn't many places in London that would serve you it, and by God, it wouldn't be good. But this place, the guy had so much pride, my first mentor, about where he sourced his bluefin tuna, and how wonderful this is. And he was trying to sell what is sushi to the people, and he would to educate me. It's just crazy. I was like, wow, this is a really, really unique experience. So I'd known him from when I was 15 to about 22. And he was really funny, because he called me up and goes, oh, do you happen to know anyone who'd be interested in taking over a restaurant or becoming an apprentice? And I was like, is he indirectly trying to ask me a question here? And I was like, well, that would be really interesting. By that point, also, I've been working part-time in my family's restaurant. So all of my weekends in uni and most of the end of sixth form, I would be going down to Guildford to, deal with these roaring fires and like 3 or 4 walks at a time on a Friday, Saturday night. It was crazy, but that high, I lived for it. Honestly, it's such an adrenaline rush to be able to see the ticket rack just completely overfill, and you've got piles still to go. And my dad has always been my dad raised me with my grandparents, so always in the kitchen watching them. That was the one thing I really took from my dad, the love of cooking. And yeah, I joined him, and just went, let's be an apprentice. My dad didn't take well to that, because obviously someone had to take over our business, so we closed that quite quickly, unfortunately. And my dad was like, why are you giving up your own business? You're giving up your own culture, your own traditions. And I'm like, but Dad, life is one. I want to do what I want to do. I want to do something that I'm really, really passionate. I feel I can really dedicate my life to. And, that mentor, that beginning was really, really eye-opening. It was such a tough training, immensely, more than anything. Skills always come with time, but the mental pressure of dealing with a Japanese kitchen can be very bewildering. It's really tough, and if you don't speak the language, it becomes almost a little bit closed off to you. You lose an entire section. So I tried to speak Japanese more and more as I developed my training. And obviously at first it was like, don't speak Japanese. You come across very, very badly. And it's like, well, that could have stopped me and been like, okay, don't speak Japanese anymore. But I was relentless. I was like, no, I've got to learn this language. I've got to learn a little bit, just so that I never miss anything lost in translation. And that was one of the best things that came out of training as well, just being able to pick up a whole different language just by working day in, day out with Japanese chefs. And then I moved on to something in London, Yashin, where I met beautiful mentors, Mr. Mineno Yasuhiro. He is one of the most talented chefs that probably are still today in London. He's a true, shockingly, a craftsman. The way he handles his knife work and his jobs in general is incredible. And to this day, sticks with me, and really gave me the platform I needed to be able to manage and to be able to be an apprentice at the Araki, which came shortly after he visited Yashin. He was still deciding, because his daughter just moved to the UK in 2011. And in 2016, 2014, he finally made it here after 3 years of much controversy about like whether he'd actually come. You know, there was so many rumors where no, he's not coming anymore. But when he did come to Yashin, I think it was 2011, 2012, to decide whether he wanted to move here, I swore to myself, and I was like, yes, if he does come here, I'm going to be his apprentice. I'm going to be his apprentice. And funnily enough, I waited 3 years, and I had a lot of good training with other mentors as well. So I learned a lot and gave me a good foundation of where I needed to be able to be his, his sidekick, his right-hand man. And the interview I'll never forget, because it was something so incredible. You never know what to expect when you go into a chef trial interview. And with the Arakis, it was my master. His wife was sitting in the room, and I had my agent, who luckily been able to get me an interview here, and she was there to translate for me. So now it would have been 5 or 6 years I've been in the Japanese industry. And there I was. She met me when I first started off, and I'm just holding this entire conversation in Japanese almost with the wife. And she was so touched. She's like, wow, in 5 years, you've been able to develop some Japanese to be able to hold a conversation with. And then she started crying. And then the wife was just analyzing me body language wise and heard my story about my passion. And she was crying. And then I was like, Jesus Christ, what's going on? And then finally the master comes in and he's like, what's going on? And then she was like, oh, sit down. And then he heard me out. And I was like, look, and he was like, why do you want to work here? And I was like, you and a lot of other chefs in Japan have been an aspiration for me to be able to constantly question myself. What is it to be on that world stage, that world level of sushi? What is it that we're missing? And what you do is what I try to strive to do every single day of my life. I want to improve and better myself so much. And then he was like pretty impressed, I would say, I hope. And I joined shortly after that. Timing wise, it was just impeccable, really. And then 4 years later, just as I turned 30, I became a dad, and I had to deal with the fact that I was going to be the head chef of a pre-Michelin-starred Japanese restaurant in London. Yeah, it was a pretty tough year. It was
sounds quite intense.
It was a very tough year, but I owe everything to that man. He gave me the future that I've always dreamed of. And I mean, it was just so weird how the timing was, because before he came, I was thinking he's not coming anymore. It was 2 years after he visited, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty convinced he's not coming. And I'd done these English for foreigners like courses. So I was thinking, if Japan's not going to come here, then I have to go to Japan. So the secret idea was to, by day, go be an English teacher, and by night moonlight as a sushi chef somewhere in Japan. That was the idea. It went through. I mean, I got my qualifications in that, but then he decided at the last minute clutch to arrive in the UK, just as he did.
But Mr. Araki's son, he still works with you, right?
The daughter, sorry. Yeah, the daughter still shows herself. Yeah, absolutely. We've developed such a close bond. Like she's literally like my little sister. I've watched her grow up since she was like 13 or 14. So it's just been incredible to watch this person grow up, and she's so dedicated to the business, and the amount of love that they show me and the team, the amount of belief and the way they've supported us through this lockdown. I'm speechless, really. It just motivates me further to say, this just reinforces what I believe, which is that there's always been that kind of beautiful Mr. Miyagi, and that kind of apprenticeship and student relationship with him. Honestly, he's given me so much. So the rest, all I can do now is just really do my best for him. I've always wanted to be like, he asked me, what is your end game? Most chefs say, yeah, I want to open my own restaurant, I want to be big in my own name. And it's like, no, I've always, watching the martial art films, there's always the master and then the first apprentice, like the eldest. And he would take on the mantle and, take down that school branch of that dojo or that school of karate or martial art. For me, that is literally it. It is that kind of beautiful romance there for me. I want to be the second generation of Araki. I want to be the known apprentice. I mean, he's got a lot of apprentices who have achieved incredible things. He's already got 2 apprentices with 3 stars, 1 that had 2 star and 1 that had 1 star. So it's insane. And none of them, ironically, graduated. None of them graduated. And it just blows my mind. that's the level of what you do at the Araki.
Cara, because we kind of went straight into me kind of gushing over sushi a little bit.
Yeah, I could tell you're very passionate about your experiences at the Iraqi because you went straight off, took off.
Yeah, sorry, I'll touch on it a little, but you know, like when it's so weird when something's not it's not yours, as in like it came to me so late in life, and I absolutely adore it. And I think like Gareth the same, the two of us, our favorite food by a mile is Japanese food, and I never saw that come in. Like I didn't think that it would be, and I don't mean any disrespect to Japanese food by that. I'm from Middlesbrough. Like why would Japanese food be something that was part of my life? It's not going to be. So yeah, it was like kind of a climax, and like I said, it's like the Iraqi for me is drugs. But as I started rambling on that, I forgot to ask my start question. I had such a good new question for you both. I was going to involve you both in this. So there's a rule to this questions, right? And the rule is win, lose or draw. You say the first thing that comes out your mouth. So I'm going to give you a little start round. This is just a test round.
Okay, Marty, I haven't played this game either, so that's why I'm looking as worried. I'm as worried as you.
Get that? I was wondering, do we shout at the same time or?
No, I'll ask you individually.
Okay, great, cool.
Different questions. So we'll start off with like a little warm up. Cara, you've got a cat. What's it called? Bang. Go. Whiskey. Thank you. Right, Marty, I'll start you with a little warm up. You got a goldfish. What's it called?
Kinchan.
Nice one. Thank you. Right. Okay. Now we're ready to play. So first up, let's go. Cara, you're opening a fish and chip shop. What's it called?
Oh my
Go. Nah, you're out.
You're making my palms sweat.
First thing that comes into your mind, it doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense.
You're making me sweat. I don't like it.
All right, you got
my palms are moist. Yes.
I
So,
know.
are you ready?
Yeah.
You have to give me the name for your exciting new ladies' perfume range. It's a perfume by Marty Lau. What's it called?
Finessed.
The Nest or Finesse?
Finessed. F-I.
Oh, nice. Finessed. Beautiful. Marty. Right, Cara, you can get a point back here. French, I believe, call it an aspirateur, but we're going to go with a new brand of vacuum cleaner. Something that sucks. What's it called, Cara?
Suck it and go.
Suck it and go. Nice. is that more of a life like kind of parody motto?
Yeah, that's how I live life.
Okay, this one's going to get well racist. Cara, you're opening a karate dojo. What's it called? Quick, Marty's already thought this through.
Okay, well, Marty, you go for it.
I was gonna do it for you because that makes perfect sense. Karate. So just put C-A-R-A-T-E.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Oh, that's actually nice. That's genius. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's nice. Karate. That's like kind of a little bit of stripper name though, isn't it? Like karate.
Yeah, I don't know how that jumped in straight. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's not my stripper name, Michael.
What's your stripper name? Suck it and go. Right, well, I think that's a nice time to draw this to a close.
Do you know what? I know you said that you went straight in talking about the Iraqi and your experience, but I was fascinated listening to both of you talk about that. So I really, really enjoyed it. And I keep getting asked where am I going to go as soon as restaurants open and things like that. And I am sold. Like the Iraqi is top of my list. Well, I'm very much looking forward to it. And thank you so much, Marty. Honestly, it was fascinating. And I've enjoyed getting to know you so much. So Michael,
thank
good choice on your guest.
You're all right. What shagger? Thanks, Marty.
Thank you both.
So much. Thank you.
Bye. We hope you enjoy listening to Grilled as much as we enjoy recording it. If you want to catch up on past episodes, they are all available now. Just search for Grilled by the Staff Canteen where you normally get your podcasts. And if you want to help us keep bringing you the content you love, you can contribute from as little as £1. Just head to thestaffcanteen.com to find out how. This episode of Grilled is sponsored by Rationale, your leading provider in multifunctional hot food preparation equipment.
Register now for a free Rationale live demo at www.rationale-online.com.